Shalom, Israel. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakodash, the honors the apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well. Peace, salutations, blessings to all brethren out there, pushing the word across the four corners of earth, risking your life to do so. All right, I was just going over some things because the squeeze is on, and I thought of Egypt. You know, this is spiritual Egypt, pursuant to Deuteronomy 28 and 68. I had a point that Christians and theologians and whatever guys who misinterpret the scriptures can never disprove. Right? This place is Egypt. This place is undoubtedly Egypt. All right? Those are called a pyramid scheme. You have the high-level priests and the pharaohs on top. All right, you look at the headdress of the pharaoh, and usually it's like a snake on one side. You know, the whole headdress looks like a cobra. All right, we know this man, of course, is that serpent, that old serpent, right? The dragon, Leviathan. Have to keep reminding ourselves that, and that the game is rigged for Israel to lose. All right, but the elect ultimately is going to win. And what you're seeing right now is a controlled squeeze, controlled shutdown. You know, basically behind the scenes, they tap each other. Look, we're going to shut the government down. We need to implement this plan. You know, you have ones on the left side, you have ones on the right side, but ultimately the end goal is the same. And that's why the scriptures say the spirit of Egypt shall fail. It's going to fail. That's why it's prophesied, Isaiah 19. This place is Egypt. Now, the place where our Lord was crucified. His image was changed. His name was changed. And you best believe they can cut off. See, everything is going towards a digital system. They can cut off your stuff at any times. So this is a reminder for all those people who are, like I said, go down to Egypt for help. You lean on a bruised reed. They could just cut it off at any time. Like, which, you know, hey, brothers got to do what they got to do, certain situations. You know, but they could just cut off your stuff at any time. And then what happens? People panic. Crime starts to increase. Starts with petty theft. It's already petty theft, but then, you know, people start to get really creative with shit. All right, they're gonna start taking, you know, big stuff, air conditioners out the window. You know, they're gonna start trying to scrap stuff and take stuff. All right, I just seen them climb on top of the restaurant and take off the whole air conditioning unit. All right, cut the pipes out. Go into a building, take all the pipes, you know, the copper out. That's what happens when things get thin. You know, what the scriptures talk about, if these things happen in a green tree, what's going to happen in a dry tree? It's going to happen when everything dries up. See, when you're in certain regions, like when it starts to get fall, people celebrate, you know, for the harvest and all this stuff, because basically this is the end of everything you planted at the end of the year. This is kind of the last of the rain. And then, you know, wintertime, basically you're not really growing anything else. All right, but what happens if you don't even have the money to, because it's still full in the stores. The stores are still stocked, not as much as they were years ago, but they're still stocked. But what happens when you can't pay for shit? All right, because Megacorp fucking owns everything and is not paying you a wage to adjust for the price of inflation. All right, I've seen that too. A lot of people protesting. You know, that's basically what they're gonna do. Take a lot of people's livelihoods away. That's why they started with the so-called Latin tribes. All right, the workmen. And for years we've been telling you guys, take those white images down, take down that false image of Cesare Borgia, Take those idols down. All right, and you have a lot of people talking about, all the Israelites, they worship the black God. There's no black God. Right? He's the invisible power. Now, if he takes a form, the scriptures talk about him. Right? White hair like wool, the Ancient of Days. Right? But he's your power too. And yeah, we're all dark skinned. We're all dark skinned. Even Ephraim. Only right now it says he's mixed amongst the people. All right, so-called Latinos, so-called Native Americans, so-called blacks, we all have the same power. We all have the same God. And it's only one. It's one Most High and his Son. And that's it. All right, but jumping to this, Genesis 47:13. This is about a famine. I just wanted to show the part where the money fails. It says, and there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, for the corn which they bought, and Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when the money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, give us bread. For why should we die in our presence? For the money faileth. And Joseph said, give your cattle, and I will give you for the cattle if money fail. All right, so these people actually own land, they own cattle, they had money. When you look up money, it's that word for kasap, silver. It says silver. All right, money, shekels, talents, silver. Because, like, if you in the land and you're the only one with silver, it's like, so what's the point? And in this kingdom, people have been denied both of those. You have certain land rights which can be overruled and easily taken away. All right, most people who live in these big cities, they live house to house. They live, in a 900 square feet or 800 square or whatever you live in. And then they certainly don't have real money. They certainly don't have kasap. So when this shit hits, all this digital, it's going to be locked in. It's going to be locked down. Right? You're going to have to either give up everything or you have to go through the system. And we know what's going to happen with that. All right, but you look at this, because I was just reading about Egypt. Goshen. You got Goshen, you got Naf, On, which is Heliopolis, Memphis. You got different, Egypt is a country. All right, and Joseph's the one who saved Egypt. And then it shows you the real path, which we know that we actually cut through the Gulf of Suez, which I believe the Gulf of Suez is like right here. Yeah, the Lord took us the long way for a reason. All right, then, here's the land of Edom, which they didn't want to let us through. And sometimes it feels like that in America. It feels like we're going the long way, but it's all for a reason. All right, and whatever situation, whatever tribulation goes, you have to go through, just deal with it. Deal with it manfully. All right, the Lord knew what he's doing when he had us go through the land, the wilderness of Zin, and then he had to eliminate an entire generation, and then the younger generation went in. All right, all these different places where judgments went out, where the serpents came out and were biting people, where basically the Lord rained down laser and destroyed parts of the multitude. This is back to verse 17. It says, and they brought their cattle into Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses And see, in this place, you don't have horses, you don't have money, you don't have land. You really don't have shit to exchange. Like, you take what they give you, and then when it's time for them to pull it away and think of some reason why you don't have it, that's it. All right, they can raise taxes wherever they want to. They can change the prices on everything. That's why this place is likened unto Egypt. It says, and for the flocks, and for the cattle of the herds, and for the asses, and he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year. When that year was ended, they came unto him the second year, and said unto him, we will not hide it from my Lord that our money is spent. My Lord also hath our herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my Lord but our bodies and our lands. Wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us in our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. And Joseph brought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field, because the famine prevailed over them, so the land became Pharaoh's. And so basically Pharaoh owned everything. That's how he had us in hard bondage. And as for the people, he removed them to cities from one end of the borders of Egypt, even to the other end thereof. Only the land of the priests bought he not, for the priests had a portion assigned them of Pharaoh, and did eat their portion which Pharaoh gave them, wherefore they sold not their lands. Then Joseph said unto the people, behold, I have bought you this day, and your land for Pharaoh. Lo, here is seed for you, and ye shall sow the land. And it shall come to pass in the increase that ye shall give the fifth parts unto Pharaoh, and 4 parts shall be your own for seed of the field, and for your foods, and for them of your households, and for food for your little ones. And they said, thou hast saved our lives. Let us find grace in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants. So basically they were given universal basic income. Here's here. All right, here's seed, you sow the land, and it shall come to pass in the increase that ye shall give the 5th part unto Pharaoh, and 4 parts you get to keep. But we own your land, basically. Because it's easier for people to just feed themselves. And that's kind of what this system is. You know, you're really just working just to feed yourself. You work for them, you do all the majority work for them, and then you got enough to feed yourself, pay rent. Maybe sometimes do a little bit extra, you know, car, basic stuff. But ultimately, it's just going right back in their hands. You're not building what we call generational wealth. All right, and Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt unto this day, that Pharaoh should have the 5th part, except the land of the priests only, which became not Pharaoh's. And Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions therein, and grew and multiplied exceedingly. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years, so the whole age of Jacob was 147 years. There you go. All right, but I just wanted to show that parallel. All right, because in this place, you pay a lot of taxes. You pay taxes every check you get, they tax. Then you pay you know, if your income taxes come, you got to submit your W-2, or if you got the 1090 form, or however you do it. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, they might have, wherever you're at, you might have to pay extra taxes for bags, or a bottle tax, a drink tax, a food tax, city stickers tax, all this bullshit. All right? But ultimately, they own all of it and can just take it back and refuse to sell it to you at any point in time. All right, Pharaoh owned the entire country. He owned everything. All right, and that's the drain. That's the drain. This is where they get people locked in on bad deals and crazy loans, and then you look up the state maximum for interest rate, that's what your loan is going to be. All right, you gotta watch out for these payday loans and shit that was started by Amalek. You know, now's the time you gotta, like the apostle said, you gotta be real creative. All right, industrious, know how to use your hands, know how to fix stuff, know how to rig stuff, know how to cook your own stuff. You know, because the squeeze is on. And also remember temperance too, because they're gonna come out with solutions. Oh, but you know what? We're gonna go ahead and do this, and people are gonna be so excited when they open everything back up. I'm gonna get my stamp. Okay, you do, but this is the perfect time. You know, either this is the testing ground before it, or this is it. All right, so just stay vigilant. You know, understand that the spirit of Egypt is going to fail. It's going to be Egyptian versus Egyptian very soon. Shalom to the elect. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Yahushai.